and I started
Work in public works, mine.
Hey. Okay, is it 6?
Wrong?
I don't have my phone. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, we're
We're
gonna
not perfect here. We try to do it.
call to order
City police are
the
here too.
meeting for the regular city council, July 15th, and we have a quorum, and, Chief Coy, would you do flag salute?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, and Chief Anderson, would you do the invocation, please?
Yes, if you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with a grateful heart for the opportunities to serve our community. We ask your presence in this meeting and your guidance in each decision that's made here tonight. Grant us the wisdom that can only come from you, the compassion to serve those who you entrusted to us, and help us work together with unity and respect for the greater good of our city and our people. We ask this blessing upon our leaders, our citizens, and our city. Keep us safe, keep us humble, and lead us in peace. In your holy name we ask. Amen.
Amen. Both of you. First item is approval of the consent docket. Anybody have any items they would like to discuss or take out? No? Everything okay? Anybody want to make a motion or?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent docket items A through E.
B.
E.
I second it.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Morris,
Yay.
Omosowi,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, we're going to receive reports from the staff first. The police chief?
Yes, I think you all have in your packet the report with the numbers, and I would answer any questions pertaining to that. But one of the things that was highlighted there was the amount of recoveries that we've had from swapped VINs, and that ended up being a recovery within the last 3 that we've had. The insurance companies have indicated to us that they have been able to recover around $140,000 in value, and that was from 3 different vehicles. We sent officers last year, at the end of last year, to a class about how to identify swapped VINs. And this is now becoming evident that we're able to do this. We've got on the schedule to host another class, hopefully teaching other officers the first of next year. The other thing that I would highlight is I did look to see what the number of cases that we filed with state charges. And we filed 91 cases with the state of Oklahoma. 35 of them were misdemeanors, 56 of them were felonies. Out of those, we've dealt with 8 burglaries, 17 domestic abuse calls, 4 violations of victim protective orders, 27 impaired driving cases. And to give a caveat, one of the things I used to hate watching the news is they would tell you a story and you never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
Some months ago, we gave commendations to officers who on a scene were able to identify a human trafficking case. Just to let you know, the 3 parties involved with it that were charged were at a federal level. All 3 of them took a plea agreement. One of them was sentenced to life in prison. One of them was sentenced to 3 years, and the other one has not been sentenced yet. So those are just some of the things that the officers have worked with, and we're lucky to serve our people. Any questions?
I'm glad you explained the VIN swap. I didn't know what that was, and I was gonna ask, so.
What that is, and it can be done multiple ways. The easy way I say the easy way, it's not easy. It took me a while to figure out how you do this. But they would go out and get a salvaged vehicle. Well, to pick one of these was a 2020 Dodge Durango. So they'll go to a salvage yard and get one that's that year. And out of that, then they will rebuild it. But what they do is they get a salvage title. and then they'll go steal the exact same year vehicle, and then they will manufacture a VIN and be able to put it into the locations that are normal. Well, one of the things that the insurance companies do is the VINs are placed in multiple locations, and being able to teach our officers where they're at, and so when they start seeing telltale signs that something just isn't right, they begin to look further. And what they end up doing is be able to find the original VIN on it and identify the vehicle as a stolen vehicle. In one case, one of the things that popped up is the VIN that they were running, literally, and this was a tag in Oklahoma, VIN title through Oklahoma, had just had the title transferred to a guy in Austin, Texas. And so that's a VIN swap. I mean, there's multiple ways that they go about doing it. But a heads up move for our officers that are out there that are making the stops and seeing this and recovering stolen property and getting it back to the owners.
Good. Great. Thank you.
Chief Coy?
Thanks for the opportunity to share. I have two things. The first one's encouraging. The other one is kind of educational. On Saturday, I got to go down to Shawnee for a large American Legion conference, and it was really a neat event to be a part of. I mentioned last month that one of our firefighters was named Firefighter of the Year through them.
Yeah,
And so I just wanted to read their media post. It said, "It is with great honor and pride that we celebrate Captain Clay Carpenter of the Warr Fire Department for being selected as the Department of Oklahoma's American Legion Firefighter of the Year. This is an incredible achievement and a true testament to Captain Carpenter's heroic dedication, unwavering service, and commitment, not only to our local community, but to our nation." So I was happy for him, but I was also happy for our city, because it's just
Yeah.
it's a really positive outlook.
Yeah.
Thanks, I'll pass that on to him.
And he's a really nice guy, too.
Yeah.
You gotta do it justice too.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one is that 3 House bills were passed that may affect different aspects of city or fire department business. The first, which is least relevant to you all, House Bill 1052 relating to fire department reporting, that all departments are required to report all incident reporting through the state and federal levels. Well, we've done that since 1999, but they moved from the INFRS system to a NARIS system, and it's requiring rural departments to do so. The only part of that House bill that really affects us immediately is that any fire-related fatalities or injuries must be reported to the State Fire Marshal's office within 48 hours. So I alerted all the fire officers and assistant chief of that, and that's not fortunately, that doesn't happen very often. But the next one, House Bill 1847 regarding home daycares, puts these establishments under residential codes. So triplexes or bigger will be required to have fire sprinkler suppression systems put into them. And the last one to talk about is House Bill 2459. It amends existing law to establish comprehensive fire safety regulations for mobile food preparation. We really refer to those as food trucks.
Food trucks.
So all food trucks fall under the jurisdiction of the State Fire Marshal now for inspections. So they were having a problem with food trucks having to go from city to city to get inspections on a daily basis, and it was sometimes delaying their operations. So now if we go out just to confirm that that they're legal and have been inspected, they'll have a sticker from the State Fire Marshal's office. And if they don't have that sticker, we don't have to write them a ticket or anything. We just call the State Fire Marshal's office. Just insider type information that until January, the new regulation for a hood system requirement doesn't go into effect. So if there are any food truck owners, now would be the time to call the State Fire Marshal's office and get that free inspection, because you're not having to do it when the hood system is required yet, and then it'd last a year. So it would just buy them a little more time.
Great.
That's it. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
All righty. City Clerk?
Okay. I hope each of you looked at your budget reports that I gave you. I wanted you to take notice that the general fund now shows a large amount of money of revenue over expenditures, and the public safety now shows a large deficit in that area. That is because every year I have to make a manual entry of moving funds, expenses from general fund over to public safety tax. So, I do have quite a few things to say tonight. The city budget, there's last several years, I've repeated it numerous times. We have to have revenue. We need revenue. Business, we need businesses. Mike Schmidt's taken that on, it seems like alone. I don't know how much help he's had outside of here, but you can't do it by yourself. It takes everybody working together
Me
to get
too, me
businesses
too, I'm
in
doing
here.
it too.
So you need to ensure that you have ample revenue stream, whether it's through new businesses or sales tax increase. But even a sales tax increase is only going to get you a limited amount of money, and it's going to be gone and nothing flat. So just so you know how the sales tax is compared to last year, there's $148,000 more in general fund sales tax than last year. Woo, $10 million budget, $148,000 more. $20,000 more from use tax, so you're looking at $168,000 sales tax increase over last year at the same time. But I will tell you that the June collections that we received in July were down $27,000, and use tax was also down 12. So it's volatile. You don't know what it's going to do from one month to the next. You might have 600 this month and 400 next month. You just never know. I wanted to clarify something on use and sales tax. In the state of Oklahoma, use tax must be paid on tangible personal property purchased and brought into the state for storage, use, or consumption. If the property is brought into a municipality that also levies a use tax, then that tax also must be paid. So retailers making sales from places of business outside the state of Oklahoma, but for use in Oklahoma, are required to pay both the state and municipal sales tax. We talked about food deliveries. Ked's brought this up several times. Food delivery, if you're ordering it from a local and the local place is delivering it, it's going to be sales tax. But if you're ordering it from a marketplace, a DoorDash or an Uber, that's going to be use tax. And so just in 1 month, from one of these marketplaces, we received $9,000. Our tax guy said, people in Warr Acres really like their delivery services. So I thought that was pretty funny. Sales tax, again, paid at your local businesses. But if you go and purchase furniture at one of the big furniture stores in Oklahoma City, make sure you have it delivered. Because you're only going to get the sales tax for Warr Acres if it's delivered. If you walk out the door and you take it home yourself, Oklahoma City is getting that tax. So you want to make sure that we do this. We only have 164 basically taxable businesses in the city of Warr Acres. But every month, there's 1,100 to 1,200 entities listed on our sales tax report. Use tax is 1,600 to 1,700 businesses. You don't know what they are. Sometimes they're 2 cents. Sometimes somebody paid tax and then they returned it or something, so there's a negative 5 or 6 cents. But there's that many entries, and most of them you have no clue as to who they are on the sales and the use tax. And then there's been some things said recently, and I asked my staff to come and be here tonight because I wanted to clear the air about some things. I want everyone to have a face and a name for a position so you know who everyone is that works in this city hall. Me, I'm Pam McDowell Ramirez. I've worked here for 34 years and 11 months, but I understand some people still don't know who I am, which is kind of surprising that I've been in these meetings all these years. But anyway, so I'm going to ask each one to stand up when I say their name so you know who they are. Liliana Escobar. She does your purchasing and deals with all of your vendors, and she's been here since 2005. Cheryl White, which most of you know from code enforcement, but she is the payroll clerk. She's been with us since 2011. Then there's Debbie Carlin, and Debbie worked for us years ago. She left to do other things, and she came back in 2021. And I have to give a kudos to Debbie because while I was going on vacation, she saved a young man's life. His parents came to City Hall. They had a 10-year-old boy who was choking on a sucker, and she immediately saw the need to use the Heimlich, and she saved the young man's life. So, kudos to her. And if you see how small she is, that
Yeah.
probably was not the easiest job to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Then we have Crystal Rivera, who's done the last couple of meetings for me while I was gone. She is the utility billing and assistant city clerk, and she's been here since 2021. And then there's John, and that would be John with no H. It's Jon, and he's the licensing and permits clerk, and he's been here since October of '24. Now that you have names, faces, positions, I want to address some negative things that have been going around the last several months about myself and my staff. Sorry, I'm a little. These individuals are fantastic people, and I always have their back. I will support them to the death. So I want to hopefully clear some misconceptions that some may have about me and City Hall staff and thinking that we run the city. It is not a correct statement. The employees do not think they run the city, but City Hall is an integral part of keeping the city running, and there is a big difference. Let's just say you close City Hall. No one would be taking the calls in relation to utilities being new services or current services, permits, licenses, vendor calls, and that's only to mention a few. The multitude of complaints on garbage and sewer issues and permits and applications that haven't been done and not getting return phone calls, these people take those calls and they get yelled and screamed at and sometimes cussed at. They have no ability to do anything about it. So all they can do is take it and then pass it on to the person that needs to hear it. Then also, you would not have utility bills going out. You would not be collecting payments if you didn't have City Hall here. So there would be no revenue coming in. Employees wouldn't get paid, so I'm not sure how long you would have employees working if they weren't getting paid. They wouldn't be able to get their insurance or pensions or payroll-related questions answered. Vendors wouldn't be able to be paid, so businesses wouldn't want to keep doing business with the city. And I haven't even mentioned the emails and the reports and the record keeping that has to be done on a daily basis. I've mentioned anything that I do in my job. So to say that City Hall thinks they run the show is not correct. But City Hall does what they can do to keep it running, keep the city running. Then there's an issue about code enforcement and how I, without authority, transferred the code enforcement officer to payroll. At the time that this happened, this is what took place. We were in a desperate situation. Payroll clerk came in on Monday, ran the payroll, left sick. The girl was very ill. We were trying to help her get to a certain date so that she could take medical retirement. She couldn't make it that long. She came in on Tuesday, the day after payroll. She worked for about an hour, went home. Wednesday, she called me and she said, I can't keep doing it. I can't do this anymore. I can't. We're like, okay, great. Payroll's been run. We need to do all the after payroll stuff. We need to get W-2s out. Who's gonna do it? And Cheryl's like, I can. So Cheryl volunteered to help us. She went in there and she just started taking over and she did a fantastic job. If it wouldn't have been for us, I don't know, for her, I don't know where we would have all been because we were just totally lost whenever she said she wasn't coming back. And then there's an issue of, I've heard that I said that I told John that he could have the position of code enforcement. I never told him he could have the position. When she took payroll and that opened up, he started asking questions and wanting to know about code enforcement. Oh, that might be something I'm interested in. I told the council that he was interested in it, but that's all I said. I never offered him a job of code enforcement. And then lastly, for 33.7 years, I've worked in this city, first as purchasing clerk and then as city clerk treasurer. I felt appreciated and I felt that what I did mattered to the city, and I take pride in that. The position of city clerk treasurer is to provide the mayor and council the information that they need to keep the city going with the money they have and try to make sure the laws of the city are followed and no one gets in trouble. I care about all the employees of this city, not just my staff. And I care about the citizens of this town because I've spent more of my life in this town than I have anywhere else. And I would like for those people to still be able to say that they work for the city and they live in the city of Warr Acres. I never wanted it heard that they now live in Oklahoma City or Bethany. Over the last 4.5 months, time and time again, the grumbling I've heard about the city staff and myself has just really frustrated me. I've not been asked one question pertaining to how the city works, the finances of the city, anything about City Hall or the city in general. Every other mayor has come in shortly after taking office, sat down and gone over the budget, asked questions about the city, and found out about how things worked. Each employee of this department has been asked about their jobs and told that things were going to change. But none of that has been communicated with me, who is the department head over this department. It is clear to me that the decision was made before ever taking office in City Hall, that nothing here was done properly, and that it was time for everything to change without any knowledge or the processes or procedures, how they worked, or with any intention of finding out. The City Hall staff is a great group. They work very hard at their jobs and they take pride in what they do and should not feel their jobs are threatened every day. The comment has also been made that there should be standard operating procedures for every job so a person could walk in off the street and pick up a book and do a job. There's many things that go in on our jobs that there's no way you could write it all down, and I'm sure your jobs are the same way. You can't write down every little detail that you take. So somebody's not going to walk into Mike's job or Kit's job and be able to pick it up and immediately go with the job. That's right. We all know we're replaceable, but thinking in that way, it just isn't right. So that being said, this will be my last meeting.
No,
Unless I'm fired tonight for speaking my mind and standing up for my staff.
no.
But my last day will be the same day that I
No.
began working here 34 years ago, and that's
No,
August
no.
12th. Thank
No.
you.
I got a comment on this. The only thing that I am trying to do is to follow the resolutions and the ordinances.
Vicki, you've never asked me one question about the city.
I-
You never asked me about, the only thing you asked me about is what you thought you should do about the inspector.
I have been
And I said,
spending-
I don't know, we've always had an inspector.
I have been spending 30 hours a week doing building inspection and code enforcement. I have not.
But that's not the only
No.
thing of the city.
I know, but it's not because I don't ask you questions. I look at what you have here on the budget, and I have asked you, what fund funds this? I have. What is it, what does this fund fund? What does the general fund fund? What is the EPA? I have done that at the very beginning. So you answered my questions. So I didn't need any more.
We're 7 months into a year.
Yeah. And we don't have a building inspector for reasons,
Oh, and that was something else. I can't be blamed for us still not having a code enforcement officer.
no.
Just because I took the code enforcement officer 7 months ago, it's not my fault we don't have one today.
No, the only thing is I think that it was supposed to be a resolution, that the city council had to vote to give the payroll clerk the same salary as the code enforcement officer. It's supposed to be a resolution voted for by the council, according to what I read in the ordinances. So I don't know, Matt, if you know that?
I'd have to go, I'd have to go back and look at the pay scale to see where the positions are in the pay scale. The ordinances simply say that the council will set pay by resolution, and you've done it by adopting a pay scale, and then for the exempt employees, adopting salaries. But I'd have to look at what pay bands the two positions are to see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't
Well,
know
it's
what
like
bands they're
I don't
in.
know, $4,000 difference or something like that. But I read that it was supposed to be by city council vote. So that's all. And Pam, I do not want you to leave. I love you. I don't have any problem with anybody in this city that works in City Hall. The only problem I have is in the way that things work as far as building permitting. It's supposed to be the building inspector that determines the
That
pricing.
doesn't have anything to do with City Hall, though.
Well, no, I mean, like John does the pricing.
He does well, yeah, he writes up the inspection cards and gave them to the inspector. The inspector would sign off on them and say, okay, it's okay, call them. That was the extent of his job involvement in the building inspections.
And I don't know
So,
what Woodard did as far as pricing, but,
prices are set out by code.
right. But John told me that he was doing the pricing. So when we get a plan from someone, there's a building charge of, right now, it's only 10 cents a square foot, 20 cents a square foot for commercial. What that is, I have one right now where all we're gonna get out of it is $16, and the building inspector has to go out there 4 times. And if a building inspector is making anywhere between $20 and $40, $75 an hour, it takes an hour.
But that's still not John.
No,
No.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to explain the whole situation here.
Woodard
So-
would do all of that calculating. All he would do is give it back to John and tell him to call them and tell him this has now been approved. So that's the only extent of City Hall in that
Right.
issue. Your issues were with Mike and building inspections. That had nothing to do with the
Okay,
city
well,
clerk's
I'm talking
department.
about, okay, that's the building, then it comes to the plumbing. So you're supposed to ask them how many bathtubs, how many sinks, all this sort of stuff. But if John doesn't even have a copy of the plans and the contractor doesn't tell him, he says, I want to pull a permit for plumbing. All those questions need to be asked. Our form does not allow that. Our form only.
But that's not City Hall. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't have anything to do with John. That has to do with your inspector and the inspections and the codes set out by the city. So we have codes that are set out by the city, and until those get changed, we have to go by what the code is that we have currently in effect.
Right.
He can't just change that.
No, but I'm saying those questions need to be asked of the contractor every time they call to get a permit. How many bathtubs are gonna have? How many sinks are gonna have? I can't
And that
really
was
explain,
probably something that Woodard took care of.
which I don't know, because I have no information from Woodard whatsoever.
Right, because Woodard was left prior to any knowledge of what he did.
Yeah. So I'm trying to learn the process by asking questions. It's not meant to insult anyone, it's not meant to demean anyone, it's just.
But when you ask each one of them about their job and how long they've been here and what they're doing this and do they do this or have they been cross-trained in that, that's not asking them about the permits or anything like that.
No, but that's to learn. It's all to learn. I'm just trying to learn.
Vicki, I don't want to get into an argument with you. I just said what I had to say and I'm done, and
I'm just trying to learn.
you've had 7 months, six months to come in and find out about the city. The city in general.
I can read.
Okay, well, then I'm glad that everything is written down there so you can run the city. I'm sorry. I don't want to argue with you because I'm going to get really ugly, and I don't want to. I don't want to do that in the public. I don't want to do that on the side. I've been here too long, worked for too many mayors, worked with too many other people that I have very much respect for, and I don't want to ruin that all tonight. So,
Well, I'm very sad that you want to leave.
I think the two of you need to sit and talk separately and talk it out, because this city can't afford to lose you.
We can't.
We
I'm
can't.
gone.
So there's no repairing it?
You'll manage without me.
No.
I don't think so.
I can't stay forever.
None of this was my intention. It was all to learn the process of how am I supposed to manage? I'm supposed to be a city manager. Sorry, I gotta drink a drink of water. How am I supposed to be the manager if I don't know how the city operates? I have asked
That's my point.
I've asked everyone, I asked the people under you what they do.
Right, but you've never came to me and asked me about my department.
I've never set up a meeting. I come in your office all the time and ask you things. But I've never set up a meeting yet.
The questions you ask have nothing to do. How many times have
Well, I
I
don't
said
even
you
know
need
what
to
to
ask
ask.
Matt?
Okay, right. You always say ask Matt.
Because the things you have asked me have been attorney issues. And I will always refer to the
You've never-
attorney for every answer if I don't know it.
I don't know what
I'm not gonna give you the wrong answer.
I don't know what I need to ask you. That's the thing. I don't know what
I didn't mean
need.
for this to turn into,
I don't know what I need to ask you. I only know what I read on the ordinances and the resolutions and what I learned from the people under you. But I don't know what I need to ask you. If you would come to me and say, hey, we need to talk about this, I don't know, because
Vicki,
I'm
you're up to here in licenses, in applications. You come into your desk and I don't even want to lay anything down on your desk because
right, because I've been trying to get a building inspector, and we have to go to the city council, we have to do this, and it's taken a long time. There are only 29 licensed inspectors in central Oklahoma who have all 4 licenses, and this city cannot afford to pay what other cities pay. A lot of cities have an inspector for each category: electrical, plumbing, building, and mechanical, and there are 2 categories. There's commercial and residential. So we have to have someone who has all 8 licenses. That is very hard to pass all tests. So there are very few people that have those, and of those 29, they are already employed. There is only one person who has applied for the building inspector, and he has 4 of the licenses and said that he would take the test for the other 4 within the year. But our pay scale is nothing comparable to other cities.
I've been saying that for years. That's nothing new.
Yeah, but I cannot get a building inspector for the salary that we have been paying.
But I don't see how that relates, but okay.
It relates completely because,
Orders of the day?
Kit wants
Orders
to
of the
say
day.
something because he's had his hand
Is
on
it
his
proper to ask for
microphone.
orders of the day, Matt? Would it be proper to ask for that?
Go ahead.
I call for orders of the day, which is a motion to get back to the
okay,
agenda, so we can move on. If you got, this sounds like some of you guys can talk it out outside of meeting, but I want to call for orders of the day so we get back to the agenda.
I'll second.
I don't know that it needs to be seconded, but
Oh, I don't know
I
if it
don't
was a
know.
motion. I don't know if it's a motion that we have to vote
I'm
on
just glad
it,
you
or?
explained it.
do it.
I'm just glad you explained it, because not very many people who would know what you were asking for, but you're asking to get back to the agenda.
Get back
in
to the
simple-
agenda. I'm
in
asking
simple
to get back
terms.
to the agenda.
Do we have to vote on that or anything, or we just say that's what we're doing?
I don't disagree that it is strayed from department head reports to a discussion on department head reports, so.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine, no. I just hate that wants to leave. Because of a lack of misunderstanding. So what do we do?
You go on to the next
Went to,
report.
The attorney.
City attorney.
Your turn.
You go to me, and I at least get to punt for a minute, because the only thing that I've got to add, Mark's going to speak to, and then I'll chime in while Mark's speaking. It's about the Pines MOU.
That's all you got to say?
Well, I'll have something to say when Mark gets up to
Okay.
talk, but I didn't want to, he's got a chunk to say, and I've got a chunk to say about the
That's
same
why
thing.
they all came.
Okay,
We overlap.
okay, so Public Works,
Okay. It takes people to run the city. It's not easy to come into a city. It's a totally different animal. Thought processes, a lot of experience comes into play to make the right decisions. Public Works is its own entity. All the things that make life easier, you don't miss until they don't work. It takes people. You saw the city hall staff, they do utility billing, they take phone calls. We try to make the boots on the ground. We try to make, the utilities work, the traffic signals work. We try to keep the streets free of potholes. Try to respond to utility companies tearing up our right-of-ways and all the different messes. So it takes people. The more experienced the people are, obviously the easier your job is. The ordinance is set up to encourage longevity because it is a difficult task to learn, just such as engineering is a learned profession. People are not born engineers or municipal employees. They're all involved difficult trades, just like fire and police. They're all unique. There's a lot of moving parts. Pam has done a great job. I've known her since I've been here 2002 to keep the budget and keep the council informed of the budget. As being Public Works Director for the last 10 years, it's become obvious one of the Achilles heels of our form of government is a strong mayor.
yeah?
We don't have a city manager, and this last year during one of the discussions on street striping, no one knew the answer as to how we could fund the street striping, which could have funded the street striping out of our CIP budget. So the council is really integral, and the mayor's integral to controlling how the budget moves forward. Pam was here, I was here in 2008 when we had, the city was on the verge of folding. We had outsourcing the police and fire and shutting up the city, and fortunately the sales tax passed and we doubled our income revenue, and things were good for a while under Mayor Woolley, and here we are in 25 here. We are back to a budget neutral budget. I can say from the employee standpoints, the pay raises that were not given has affected morale, so I have to deal with that. They want to know why they didn't get a pay raise. So that's part of the strategy of the city ordinance, is to create longevity. That's why you get annual raises and recognition. They've got to live before they can get to retirement. So, obviously with the post-COVID and everything increasing in prices, it costs more to live, obviously. But I think John's alluded to some of the budget where 63rd, he wants to get 63rd pay, but we don't really have a long-term plan to address that. That probably should be, in my opinion, I've realized we need to have some sort of a 5-year budget plan to try to appropriate funds for a larger project like $1 million overlay. We were fortunate in 2015 to do, we got funds from ARPA, which was under Obama, and we did MacArthur, we did part of 63rd, and we did 50th Street under the ARPA funding. And recently we got funding for our sewer project through the other funding. We may have to look at how the budget is allocated. So it's kind of like your own personal budget. If you've got multiple cars and things, you have to realize what's important. Do you want streets, or do you want to spend all your money on police and fire? Do you want to spend it all on public works? Any of those entities can be a large expense. Recently, you approved the side loader, and the goal with the side loader is to try, you know, the old traditional way was very labor intensive. We had 10 people, a large amount of the budget being spent, and we have a large sanitation bill to reflect recovery of those costs, which includes the operational costs of City Hall, the Pam's cost to take care of all the accounting, collect the bills. We've got Crystal that takes care of all the billing. So all those costs are figuring in to try to recoup that. So I think we're at once again, we're at a budget neutral. In other words, we spend all the money that we bring in. What is the next 5 years for Warr Acres? So, you know, the strategy for hopefully with the reduction of labor costs, going to an automated side loader will help increase revenue or reduce revenue. But if that revenue is not spent wisely, or if the budget, you know, it all makes a difference. You know, Pam mentioned there was an increase in the sales tax, but it's just like your own budget. If you're not careful, you go to Starbucks a couple of times a week, or however you spend your money in different similar situations, you spend money on different items. It all adds up at the end of the year, and then when you go, well, we didn't get our street overlaid, we didn't get Grove overlaid. Well, the only way we got streets recently was through the last 10 years, which I gave the council here a list of everything that was done over the past 10 years under Woolley. There was a significant amount of, we had a bond issue. We actually spent, I believe we did 4 overlays prior to the Obama money for about $500,000 in the various wards. So it's very expensive to build a new city hall. That was only done with the bond issue under Mickley. He was here earlier. We moved forward with the city hall, and you know, we had an old fire station, we had an old police station, needed to be upgraded. The public works is marginally pretty good. I mean, it could be better, but we got $2 million of street improvements. So to move forward, we probably need to seriously this year to try to reallocate and come up with a 5-year plan of how we're going to spend our money. If we're going to continue the same way, there's just going to be less and less money for other departments. So, you know, Pam is a great asset. She has kept the city's finances, and she's kept the city finances accurate and within the scope of the law to provide to you, the city council members, to make informed decisions how to move forward with the budget that's best for the citizens. So when I've even heard it, it's Pam's budget. She's just supplying you the numbers. The decisions are made right here at this horseshoe. So to place the burden on Pam to tell her that she's making the decisions is not an accurate description. So all the members here at the city council vote on the items. They approve the budget. They approve the expenditures every month. Pam just reports what you've done. So I'll end with that. Or is there any questions on the monthly report? Well, there's been some other sinkholes. We'll move on to just some sinkholes developed. We have a 7-Eleven in front of there, Northwest Highway. There's a 2-foot diameter pipe. We've some sinkholes there. We've got 3 or 4 others in residential areas. We have the huge sinkhole north of Wood Creek on 63rd, which was just awarded under here under the Public Works Authority. I think it was $55,000. They uncovered another $22,000 to cover up the big hole that once they remove all the overburden to try to get that repaired. So takes money to do all that.
So, you know, it's funny because me and Councilman Evans, right before the meeting, were talking about 63rd and about how that street needs to be repaired, but we don't really have a plan. Like, you know, if we're going to apply for money, they're going to say, what's your plan? If we just say, oh, we just want to do 63rd, can't really do anything because we don't say our long-range goal is to, like, you know, back in the day, because, you know, we ranked the streets from worst to best, and then that's how we had some kind of action plan of what we were going to do. So I don't know if I agree. That's something we need to look at. My street is terrible. It got the overlay, but if people didn't move their cars, instead of towing them, we just paved around them and left, and it's still to this day, 12 years later, they're still where they didn't get the overlay, and it's just sitting there. And it's not going to get replaced. 63rd, if you're going to have all those cars that he reports on every month driving down that street, they're gonna start picking a different street if that street's terrible, and it's getting to that point. So, I agree. We had talked about it. I don't know what the solution is because, we've already got the bonds for the 3 buildings we built. And I don't feel like saying we need to go do another bond. But there, I said it at the last month's meeting, when we do this budget this year, we need to do it, maybe look outside the box and how we've done it in the past and try to figure out what the priorities are of the city and what we need to do. And I think that street is one of them. I don't think the whole, like we talked about, we don't know if we can do all of it or part of it or some of it, but we need to do something. So I agree with everything you said.
Mike has a list of the pothole.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a
order-
list. Continuation of the GO bond, the 2019 GO bond street project, which originated in 2012 with meetings with the council members, and we came up with a list with the former city engineer Scott Barrett, and that's where that list was generated for the 19 bond. And so basically, I just took the ones we repaired and then just added just continued the list and added to it, and then summarized what had been done. So there is a list available that I can make available to anybody that wants a copy.
I do. Anything else, or?
Unless anybody has any questions.
No, city engineer?
I'm actually filling in for both Amanda and Dakota tonight. So on the city engineer, I'm just going to cover a few things, and that way when it gets to PMA, we don't have to spend that time. There is on your item on PMA, or on the Public Works Authority, is the change order 2, amendment 2 for $38,061. That is a change order of the current sewer line that's being constructed now. It's moving along fine. The majority of this cost was OWRB, when they issued the permit to construct, they required us to do a sand filter bed, and so that's adding this in as a requirement. And then there was $3,900 of that $38,000 that was to replace a driveway. One of along Shoreline Drive, the residents was willing to have his driveway removed as part of the project, and so we're replacing that driveway. So that will be on your agenda, item number 4. Matt and I have been working with the Pines HOA on the MOU. We did not get the red line version back from their attorney until it was past the deadline. So Pam and I, we left it on your agenda because you had continued it. So what we'll do is, I guess we'll ask to just continue it to the next available meeting. Materially, city attorney and I are in agreement. There's minor things, and we will be able to bring that to the next meeting. I think we're going to have a special meeting on July 29th that the mayor will bring up later, and so we can do that then. Once that MOU is approved on the 29th, we've already awarded the Cimarron construction contracts, and we have the permit to construct from OWRB, and we have the categorical exclusion environmental. So everything is in place once that MOU is approved on your next meeting. That's it for the engineering update for this month. On the planning update, we will be working on the special meeting on the 29th of July. We'll bring some ideas about how to improve the permits and the fees. Matt will be working on an ordinance change and a resolution, and then Dakota will be providing the background on fees that the mayor has given us, as well as other research that was done 3 or 4 years ago. That way we can move forward with raising fees on these inspections and all. And then we'll also do a really quick presentation on the sanitary sewer OWRB money helped afford to get you a GIS system really up and running. We're going to be able to use that GIS to tie to your website to where people can apply for building inspections online. So we'll do a demo of that at the 29th. Now, it will take a few months before this will be automated, but it can be done, so. Any other questions for engineer or planner?
I'll jump in real quick and just say what I was going to say, but didn't want to step on Mark. When it comes to the MOU, I'm confident that we are very close to a deal. One of the key sticking points at the last meeting was they wanted to give us a broader easement across the whole dam that they would then shift maintenance responsibilities in that easement to us, which would effectively mean we were taking care of, a huge chunk of the dam. What we had originally proposed was the spillway and do some cost sharing if there's future maintenance. After trying to listen to everybody last month and try and read between the lines, the feedback that Mark and I both picked up on, so if we misread, we at least both misread it the same way, was that we went back to them with, we don't want a broader easement across the dam. What we want is an easement across the spillway, and if we choose to do maintenance on the spillway, then we're going to eat the cost on it. They have agreed to that. There's some minor constitutional issues about them wanting us to agree. If OWRB says something needs to be done, then we will contract it out and get it done. For constitutional reasons, we can't agree to that. But in talking with Mark, there's not going to be anything that OWRB would tell us needed to be done to the spillway that wouldn't jeopardize our sewer line. So I mean, in principle, we're there. The only other big thing that we had proposed and that they've appear to have accepted, just with a slight modification, is we wanted the repayments get spelled out in the agreement itself, not to be done by separate agreement in the future. We had asked for $20,000 a year and a 6% interest rate that would apply at the end of the year to whatever the balance was. They've come back with two $10,000 payments during the year, one by March 1st, one by September 1st, and 2.1% applied to the balance after each of those deadlines comes and goes. So in principle, we're there. You're not fronting the money and giving an interest-free loan. You'd be getting interest back on the payment. So there's some other minor things, but I was glad to see that at least in principle, they're on board with the direction we want to go. We just need to clean up some of the language with their attorney, and that shouldn't take the next couple of weeks, and we should have a finished product for you.
So hopefully, if you continue it, and if the special meeting is on July 29th, then we can have that approved. So.
And what Mark was talking about when it comes to fees, littered throughout your ordinances are various things that we do and what the fee is that gets charged for it, which means every time you want to update your fee, you've got to go find every single ordinance and amend the law to change what the fee is. So the concept would be that we'd go and have one big ordinance that would amend all of those to take out the fees and instead reference that there will be a fee as set by resolution adopted from time to time by the council, and then bring you a resolution that would be a master resolution with all the fees, which then makes it easier in the future to update fees without having to go and find every single place in the ordinances that they're laid out.
Like we do for the budget.
Yeah, like you do for the budget. And so that would make it a lot easier, a one-time massive ordinance to change from spelling out a specific dollar amount in the ordinances to changing it to an amount you would set and update from time to time. And then we would have that master resolution that over time you could then have one place if you need to update fees that you would update them. Now, that's the procedural change. The substantive change is we've got some of these permit fees that haven't been updated since perhaps when I was in grade school. And the cost of doing the work that's behind them has changed. So it's harder now to change the fees than it needs to be. The procedural change will make it easier to update, and then that becomes something that becomes easier as part of the budgeting process to see if you need to adopt a new resolution. So that's the concept, and we won't have that for a special meeting, but we will have it hopefully in the next month or so, because there's going to be one big ordinance that's going to be not changing any fees, but just taking all the fees out of the ordinances, and you have to amend every single section in the code that references a fee, and then we'll have a resolution to go with it.
Yeah, and we'll present that at your special meeting. So, all right, thank you.
You're a little ambitious thinking it'll be ready by the special meeting.
Well, I mean, we'll have.
Says the guy that doesn't have to draft what may be like a 50-page ordinance.
We'll have the outline and the research of what you probably should be charging for fees.
Yeah,
We'll
the
recommend.
discussion, maybe not the voting on it.
Correct.
And what is the date of that again?
July 29th.
July 29th.
I'm just teasing him because he said, we need to make sure that's said in the meeting. And he
Well,
said it like 4 times since he's been standing there.
Matt and I will send you the agenda items, so.
Can you say it one more time so she can put it for a 5th time?
Thank you.
All righty then. Librarian?
Good evening, everyone. So I feel like I've been talking about summer reading for the last 2 months, so I will not talk about that anymore tonight. It is coming to a close at the end of this month, so if you have not signed up, you still can. You can backdate your reading all the way back to June 1st, so you can still claim prizes and do all the things. What I wanted to talk about tonight is just some of the other resources that we offer that are not necessarily advertised as much. So really quickly, we have what we call experience passes. So we have about 6 or 7 passes to different museums and experiences across Oklahoma City. So there's like the Oklahoma City Museum of Art, the Banjo Museum, the Firefighters Museum. These are free passes. They admit up to 5 people. So you can just come in, you can keep it for an entire week. You can use it multiple times within that week. So you basically just present it at the ticket desk when you arrive at said location. And they are a first come, first serve. So when you come into the library, you may want to go to the Banjo Museum. That one may already be checked out. So we do have other locations that we can check to see if they have one, or you can wait about a week, or you can choose one of the others. But again, free, admit up to 5 people. You can go multiple times. Really, really great, especially for families who don't want to spend a ton of money taking their family to the museum. So that's one of the things we offer. We also have, and we actually just got a whole bunch of new ones since it's our new budget year as of July 1st, hotspots. So any of the people who don't have Wi-Fi at home or internet accessibility can come in and check out a hotspot. You can actually keep it for 4 weeks, so it checks out just like a book. You use it at home, and essentially it kind of just turns itself off at the end of your 4 weeks, and then you return it. Of course, if you don't return it, we will charge you a fee, but return it and you can recheck it if no one else wants it. All of our libraries have, there's like 2 or 3 at each location in circulation, so plenty to go around. And then we also have a hotspot that you can check out for a week at a time, and those are a first come, first served basis, so they kind of stay really, really busy. But we do have those. Again, you can check them out just like you can books, so free to everyone who has a library card. Another service that we offer is tech tutoring. So anyone that you know who, we have people all the time who come in and say, I want to learn how to use my Kindle. I want to learn how to create a spreadsheet. Just basic kind of computer skills that some people don't know. So we have people in the library. You just contact us. You can set up a time to come in. Usually it's a 30-minute to an hour-long session, as long as we kind of know ahead of time. That's just for scheduling purposes to make sure we have the proper personnel or person in the library who kind of has that expertise. Again, you don't have to have a library card to utilize the service. You just contact us. You can come in, and we will assist you with that. If we don't have kind of what you need, or we can't really help you maybe in the Warr Acres location, we can get you over to someone in another location, or sometimes that person even travels over to the Warr Acres Library to provide that assistance. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. We also have Chromebooks, so very similar to a laptop. Chromebooks, we have 2 that you can check out for 2-hour usage. They're in library use only. You just, again, use your library card, check them out. They check out for 2 hours, and then you just return them back to the desk when you're done. So you can use those for people who come in all the time. I left my laptop at home. I need to do a Zoom meeting. I need to use the webcam on it. So very, very convenient for all of our guests. And I think that's all I have for you this evening. Does anyone have any? Oh, and I wanted to thank you too, because yes, thank you. Thank you for looking. I was like, I'm going to say this. So Mr. Kit Fairchild, Miss Judy Myers utilized our meeting room on Saturday the 12th, had a town hall. I was not in the building, but my staff did tell me that you had lots of people and it was a great time. So we definitely want to thank you and appreciate you for utilizing the space. Continue to utilize our space and tell everybody you know that the space is available. So thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about that during my own time.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about the town hall we had.
So
the staff was wonderful. I got to
great,
say that
great.
it was easy to get the place. The staff
Great.
was wonderful, easy to work with. They're
Awesome.
very accommodating.
Great.
It was great.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
That's great.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity once again. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is discussion and possible action, oh, wait a minute, sorry. Discussion and possible action on adding the item called to the public, which I brought up last month, but then we didn't get to discuss it or have an action on it because I did not know that, and Judy found that it had been changed in an ordinance or a resolution, that we don't do that anymore. And I really think it's important for the citizens to have a voice, not to come and complain, but to provide possible solutions for issues. And I would say that we could set a time limit. Say the first person that comes up to talk about one thing has 3 minutes. Everyone that follows them about the same thing has another minute. I don't think there's not very much civic involvement in Warr Acres, and I think that would increase it.
If I can just speak quickly, not to the substance of whether or not you should have it, but just some of the legal ramifications of having it. The first I'll talk about is the First Amendment. City council meetings, by definition, are not inherently public forums. They're not places that people have a right to come and engage in expressive activity, which makes them what we call legally a non-public forum. The city has the ability to create what's called a designated public forum or what we call a limited public forum. I'll talk about each of those very, very briefly, but the key concept I want you to take away, if you allow public participation at your meetings, whether it's on a limited basis or an open basis in terms of what they can talk about, you can't restrict what they're talking, the viewpoint that they're expressing. And if you choose to, you can restrict the topics they can talk about, but you can't, the major key is you can't, what we call discriminate against somebody based upon the viewpoint they're expressing. The distinction when we're talking about a city council meeting and a call to the public between a limited and a designated public forum. Limited would be if you, for example, some cities will have on their agendas a call to the public, but that you are limited to talking about anything that's on the agenda. So if it's not something on the agenda, then you can't talk about it. That's what makes it a limited public forum, is you've limited the subject matter they can talk about, as opposed to the way that we were doing it, where it was more of what I would call a designated public forum, which is sky's the limit about what you want to talk about. When I first started as city attorney, and Pam, what was her name? Was it Lois something, that the Salvation Army? Lois Myers. Had to have been about a 100-page manifesto.
No relation.
Had to have had about a 100-page manifesto against the Salvation Army, who, for those that weren't here back in the day, this used to be the community center, and the primary user of the community center was the Salvation Army, that had a very cheap contract with the city to use it during the day, Monday through Friday. And Lois was not a fan of the Salvation Army, and therefore was not a fan of the fact that we were contracting with the Salvation Army. The only limitation we had was 3 minutes, what we call a time, place, or manner restriction. And so Lois would read for 3 minutes and then would mark her place and would come back next month and pick up where she left off and would continue to read for 3 minutes. And it went on for several years, and then she finished, and we haven't seen her since. So if you are going to allow it from a First Amendment standpoint, you can have time, place, or manner restrictions. What usually the common time, place, or manner restriction is the time, how long. If you're going to have it, I would suggest that you adopt a reasonable time limit, both as to individual speakers and to the item as a whole. You can establish X number of minutes per speaker, X number of minutes for all speakers. So if you have a bunch of people sign up, but you had 3 minutes and 20 minutes total, once you got to 20 minutes, we're done, and we move on to the next item. If you are going to do it, you need to make a substantive decision of, is it going to be a truly open forum where they can talk about anything that they want to talk about, including things that you may not have anything you control. I've seen people come to city council meetings and want to talk about how horrible the school district is, or how horrible the governor is, or how horrible the president is. If you don't have a limitation on the topic,
Only city business, yeah.
they get to talk about whatever they want. Well, and the problem with doing only city business is, I want to talk about how awful the President of the United States is. Well, that's not about city business. Well, I mean, you could find a way logically to link it back to the city business. The most acceptable form of a limitation on the topic is if you limit it to what's on the agenda. The other issue I would tell you, if you are going to allow it, you have to train yourself to not take the bait. And by that I mean, we are subject to the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act. Oklahoma Open Meeting Act requires that if you're going to transact public business, that the public has advance notice by way of an agenda so they know the things you're going to transact business on. Transacting business has long been interpreted as more than just a vote. It's the entire deliberative process. So one of the concerns that every one of us have as city attorneys, and we teach on this frequently, I teach on it frequently, is if you're going to have it, it's not a problem when the person gets up to talk about something that's not on your agenda. The problem is if Judy then interacts with them and then Debbie decides to talk to Judy about an idea, and now we're transacting business about a topic that's not on the agenda. So when done correctly, it does feel a little stifling for the citizen because they're wanting to be heard about something, but you can't really engage with them on it. Because if you engage with them on it, then it runs the risk of you getting accused of transacting business on a topic that's not on the agenda. That's why some attorneys have recommended if you're going to do it, limit it to things on the agenda. That way, if you do engage with them, at least the public knows what the topic was and had advance notice. So that's the legal aspect of it. The substantive aspect is your choice to make. I will tell you for what it's worth. I teach it this way. David Weatherford from the Tulsa area, everybody I know that municipal attorney that teaches on this, when we teach on it, we refer to it as open mic night. And we recommend against it because of the concerns about the First Amendment and the concerns about the Open Meeting Act. So with that, the substantive decision is your guys.
So if they were to come up and talk, we cannot say anything.
I wouldn't.
We can't say thank you.
You can say thank you.
I wouldn't.
You can say thank you. And the way that some of the council members did it in the past is if it was something that was important enough, the only thing that they would say is, I'd like to ask for an item on the next agenda to talk about this.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you just from a legal perspective, it's a representative democracy. If citizens have concerns, they've got, in Warr Acres, not unique, but different than most cities, they've got 2 different council members they can call that represent their interests. And per ordinance, any council member can ask for an item to be put on the agenda. So if somebody from Ward 1 has an issue, they've got 2 people to call. Either one of you can put their issue on the agenda. And so from just a civic standpoint, the idea is you get elected to transact business. You are responsible to your constituents. If they have an issue, you bring it and discuss it as a body. And so that's the reason some of us do counsel against putting those items on, is because if the citizens feel like they don't have a chance to be heard, they do have a chance to be heard. They were heard when they picked you. And they picked you to represent them and their interests. And so that's the civic side of it, why some of us city attorneys do recommend against these items.
Well, I got some points to make and some concerns and some ideas maybe we could clarify, because I did see this on there and I wrote down some things, like one time limit. Yeah, 3 minutes sounds good. And an overall time, like, okay, 30 minutes for this whole section of this agenda, so we get 10 people that can speak for 3 minutes, right? I like that. I like the idea of citizens coming in and telling us, you know, what issues are, what their ideas are and stuff that helps us to represent them better. That's one of the things I kind of ran on was, hey, I really want to represent the people, the Ward 1. I want to take your ideas to the city. That's what I want to do. That's why I'm here. So I like that idea. I do like the idea of limiting the time and the overall time for that section of the agenda. The other thing is it going to be limited to just Warr Acres citizens only and about Warr Acres city business only?
Can we do that?
There's a difference of opinion whether or not you can limit it to only people who live here. I would offer to you an observation, which is who are your constituents? Well, you've got the constituents that can vote. You might, if you've ever heard Pam talk and know what her role is and know her name, then you might have heard her talk about tax revenue. And so do we have a constituency that includes business owners who might have a legitimate concern that they want to bring before the council but may not live here? And do you want to adopt a rule that would prevent them from addressing you? And so that's, I personally have a little bit of a concern saying we're going to have an open forum, but we're only going to limit it to residents of the city. I think I can defend it legally as a time, place, or manner restriction in a limited public forum
Residents and
restriction.
business within that.
And that's where you'd want to be careful about how you define who is eligible to talk.
Okay.
I do think I can defend it as a limited public forum, that you're not just limiting the topic, but the speakers that can speak on it. That is something that courts have traditionally upheld as a restriction in a limited public forum.
Okay. Well, the other thing is, what about decorum and safety?
From a safety standpoint, we do have a Title 21 statute that makes it unlawful to disrupt a public meeting.
No fighting words and stuff like that.
From a decorum standpoint, it is very difficult from a First Amendment standpoint to restrict how people express themselves. I tend to believe, and there are some that disagree with me, but I tend to believe that you can adopt certain restrictions as long as they're applied even-handedly. And so the way I'll usually teach on that is if you say you cannot use the F word, then that means when somebody gets up here and says, Fairchild effing blanks,
That doesn't bother me. It's,
but it also means when somebody gets up here and says, the Warr Acres Police, Fire, and Public Works are blank and awesome, we got to kick them out too.
yeah.
And the problem with those rules is we're very easy to apply them when somebody's saying something we don't like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a little more lax in applying them when somebody's saying something, congratulating us.
Yeah, to me, colorful language or cussing doesn't bother me. It would be more like, which would probably be illegal anyway, using fighting words and stuff like that.
Fighting words, yes.
So-
But one of the key First Amendment cases is on a guy that won a First Amendment case for wearing a shirt to court that said, F the draft.
Yeah.
And so you can't criminalize using the F word
That doesn't-
as a form of expression.
That doesn't bother me at all, really. But, yeah, just, being safe with it. And, yeah, that was just a question I had. And the other thing was, yeah, ability for rebuttal for, being personally called out, which probably wouldn't be a good idea. Like you said, hey, that may violate the Open Meetings Act because it's not on the agenda. So the best thing to do is do what, like, I've been to a few school board meetings, and Ryan Walters just sits there and takes it and doesn't say anything because they told him, hey, could be a violation of the Open Meetings Act if you say something that's not on the agenda.
Yep.
So I get that.
We used to have that open form, and that's what I thought, how we used it was them to fill out the open form, so that's the only way they got to talk, is if they filled out the form, and then it was put on the agenda that this person wants to discuss this item.
No, they would show up the night of the meeting, they could fill out the form and turn it in. The night of the
The
meeting.
form was literally just for organizational purposes,
Right.
that we at least knew who signed up
Who
so we
was
could
gonna
call
talk.
them.
I think
And at least with
it's
Pat,
important
Jim-
to have, I'm sorry
Oh,
to interrupt
I
you.
was just gonna say, with Pat and Jim, they at
I
least
think
would
it's
also
very
ask anybody that didn't
important
sign
to
up.
have connection between the city mayor, city council, and the people who's here. They might come over here and say, we hate her, let us vote her out, and someone else is gonna come in, which is wonderful. Limiting the discussion to what's on the agenda will limit our knowledge of information in addition to suggestions. We might find some good ideas from the people. I am all for that. I think
agree.
it's a good
wanna limit the-
practice.
I don't wanna limit it.
If we open the meeting for people, it will show transparency within the city, and I'm all about it. I'm all for it,
I just think we get more civic involvement.
which is important.
Yeah.
Because not that many people are important, and for whatever reason, I don't know, it's like we're scaring them away from the
Find
city.
it one of the
which is-
best ways to represent people is to listen to them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you went to that training yet or not, but the problem with that training is you are not here to represent the people. This is the first thing that they will tell you. You're here to run the city like a, board of director, which I'm totally against. So I think it's a great idea. I was looking forward.
My
to this
biggest
one.
concern is these meetings are already been running 3 hours long.
Yeah.
You start adding another 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many people you want to allow to speak, you're now at 4 hours.
5.
And, or,
5 hours. That was one of my other
There's no
other
end.
questions I had was, hey,
People,
man,
3 minutes each, I think it's fair.
you want them to speak, you could put them at the end of the agenda and let the business get done in the city, and they can express their concerns at the end instead of the beginning, but you can't limit it to agenda items if you do that, because the agenda will have already been handled. So, you've got differences, but meetings we used to run meetings and it was about 2 hours. We're now at 3+. And you don't get the attention to detail on individual items when they run out that long, when meetings run out that long. You just lose your focus. Most of
Yeah.
us have jobs and other lives. This isn't our full-time job, so that we have distractions.
And would there be a way to suspend public comment section if, say, we had a really long agenda? We know there's going to be a really long agenda. Is there a way to suspend that?
You can take up items in any order as long as they're on the agenda.
Gotcha.
So you could choose to skip that item and come back to
Go
it.
back, okay.
We can do it at the end of the city council meeting before
Yeah.
the public work meeting and the
I like 3-minute limit, 30 minutes total for the agenda
Yes.
item.
Let us
For
start
public
with this and
speaking,
see
I
how
like
it's
that.
gonna go. 'Cause I
10
think
people can speak maximum for 3 minutes.
You're not gonna have that many people. We're
I don't
not
think we
gonna
will
see
either,
Not
but I would
only
keep
the
that.
people who are really needing to be here. And I think it's a good practice. I think it's a good practice. I don't know, passionate about that.
If we can work out the details.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I want to make a motion just to table this to next month, and you guys can think about, well, I mean, you're going to have to write up all what we want to
Okay.
do and present it to the council and say, this is my proposal of how I want to have this. I agree, because I'm the one that first brought this up, that we should have this. I was on the council when we had it, and then when we got rid of it. And I think we should hear what the citizens, if they are watching or here, if they want to speak their mind, they can come up here and say it for 3 minutes.
I'll second you.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Morris,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes?
Omosui,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
No.
Mayor.
Yes,
Motion approved.
just to table it.
And he wanted on there.
You didn't want to table it?
Oh, yeah, he wants it done now, yeah.
He wants to spend more time at another meeting talking about it.
Let's
I
talk
was gonna
about it
say,
some more.
waste another 20 minutes in the next meeting.
It won't be
For-
20 minutes, it'll be like
For
5.
the next meeting, I'll put together a resolution that might be a little bit of, we'll have to fill it in at the meeting, but a resolution that you could end up adopting that.
And maybe talk to Kit, I think Kit wants to be involved in it, yeah. I think you want to be involved in this. Yes.
Okay. Next item, discussion of possible action on membership renewal with OMMS, which,
Did you already pay it? Did we see an invoice on that?
Matt, can you tell us what they do for us?
Is that this?
So I can tell you,
Yes. Yes, it's
that looks like
invoice.
their letterhead. So I believe that is going to be probably their invoice, I'm guessing.
There's an invoice on there.
$4,000?
Oh, there
It
it is.
was up there, Matt.
I put it
What
on
she was
there.
saying is that this. I'm
Can
just
we go
looking
back
over
to
there,
the other page?
The other page said what we did, yeah. Or what they did for us. yeah.
There you go.
I think there probably starts a page before that, because
I don't have that one.
I saw it in the,
It was in our handouts.
Yeah, there was 2 pages. There was
After
another
that.
page that talked, it's,
Oh, there it is, yeah.
yeah, it looks like it was a
This one?
3-page and the invoice.
he's trying to see
I
that.
didn't do the so what have we done page.
This one, so
yeah.
what have we done? Yeah.
So OMMS was a entity created by interlocal, which essentially means cities, when they become a part of the interlocal, they're doing something collectively that they could do individually. It was created, oh my gosh, I honestly couldn't tell you exactly what year it was created. Where I used to work, we helped create it, mostly to provide additional services to cities and towns that OMAG didn't want to provide, and it just kind of spun off into its own thing, which was good. For our purposes, some of the benefits that I would see from OMMS, one, we were lucky we were a member when we had a vacancy in the inspector position because it allowed us to take advantage of one of the services that they offered their members, which was the circuit rider inspection programs. It wasn't exactly a program created for cities like us. It was created for smaller cities and towns that didn't need a full-time code enforcer, but wanted or inspector, but wanted somebody to be able to go out on a part-time basis to do it. And I believe they do the same thing on code enforcement. They also have a niche when it comes to the management area, so they'll provide some consulting on city management. They will put on trainings that their members can attend on city management. And so I've taught at a few of their trainings on city management. The last time I talked was things you should ask your city attorney, and they had a great engineer there who said questions you should ask your city engineer, and I forget who the other 2 were. Your financial consultant, Frankie, was the speaker on that. And I forget the other topic, but so there are some trainings that we can take advantage of that they provide. They're there basically, the way I would describe it, since Steve got it going, he's very responsive to his membership, and so if there is a need that communities have, then he'll try and figure out a way that they can provide it. Not important for you guys, members of OMMS, also if they have a vacancy at city manager, can use OMMS to help them find a city manager. They also have found a niche in helping, and Mike's probably not going to like me saying this. If there's a vacancy at the chief of police position, they have done some hiring panels for cities on helping to hire chiefs of police, because among the things that they do, they also manage the City Managers Association and the Oklahoma Association of Chiefs of Police and the Oklahoma Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. So they've kind of got a niche there. They've done some best practice reviews, whether it's in police departments or city management as a whole. They've kind of, the sky's the limit of what they do. So I don't know what the cost is for membership for cities of our size.
Was it 4,000?
4,000. I want to say, it might be through the City Managers Association. They do some legislative work as well, but I think that might be through CMAO. I don't know that it's through OMMS itself.
And how does this differ from OML?
I'm going to avoid making a joke here. Well, because there were some tensions between the two organizations because
Overlap?
yeah, I mean, OMMS I don't think does any legislative work, but they do work on behalf of CMAO and the Chief Association, and sometimes they don't always see eye to eye with OML. This is not my opinion. I have heard some people express the opinion that if OML was doing everything it was supposed to do, that OMMS would never have been created. I will reserve judgment on that because I try to get along with both of them.
How many, Pam, do you know how many years we've been doing this? Since it says renewal, I'm assuming we've been doing this every year.
You say, how long have we,
The city,
Years?
like, has it been a while?
not
Like,
very, just the last couple of years. They haven't been around that long though either.
They've been around for longer than you might think. Ironically, they were first created because CMAO had this long-term vision of small towns and small cities who couldn't afford a full-time manager
Right.
to do circuit rider city managers, to where somebody, you would contract and they'd spend 2 days here being city manager and then 2 days here, then 1 day and they just kind of do a rotation. And then the second they got formed, Norman fired their city manager and was in desperate need of an interim city manager. So OMMS pivoted because Norman was one of their first members and placed a retired city manager as their interim city manager for 6 months. And so like when I say that they're responsive to their members, they have not started to do the thing that they were created to do, a circuit rider manager program, because they've been so busy fielding and meeting the needs of the members that have joined them, and there hasn't been a big push to do the circuit rider program. But that's why CMAO created them, was to create a circuit rider city manager program.
Are we currently using the inspector side
Yes.
of this?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, right, with Simon.
one of them, yeah.
Simon.
We have two that we're paying.
Yeah, so we had a bare minimum to be able to continue to use that service.
As I say, I don't think we have a choice if we're using that service and we need that service. I think this is pretty much, it's already set.
I think you should make a motion.
We don't know what's gonna
I
happen
will
in the future.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice and the membership.
Second.
Kit,
Okay, that's what I thought. I saw him move the mic, so like, okay, that had to been him.
Was it already budgeted as well? You know?
Yeah.
Well, you have memberships budgeted,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Evans,
Yes.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers? Yes.
Schmidt,
yes.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosawi,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Discussion and possible action to adopt an ordinance amending section 1088-040 of the Warr Acres Municipal Code to update the towing and storage fees that may be charged for vehicles seized and are impounded by Warr Acres Police Department. Matt and Chief Allen.
This started a week ago, I think he called me.
Jason.
Deputy Chief Allen called me, and ironically, it was about something that was Chief Anderson talked about on his staff report, which was, it was really prompted by some of the vehicles on the VIN swaps. Well, obviously, when you get one of those vehicles, you don't just leave it where it's at because it's somebody else's vehicle, you're gonna impound it. And some of these were some pretty nice cars some really nice cars. And one of the things that Jason was working through after I think the third one that you guys had gotten was, is there a reason we can't just store these here? Well, at the time, I hadn't gone through, we had never used the ordinance that we already had on the books. We'd always just used record services and had them tow it to their yard. have rates that they charge that are set by the Corporation Commission because they're a regulated industry. And so told them the only thing we really need to do is adopt an ordinance that makes clear we have the authority to take it to our property, and then we need to establish what is the storage fee. And it'd probably be good to just set it at the fee that they'd get charged if they were at the impound lot. And so we agreed in principle that I'd draft something to prepare that. When I went looking for where I'd add it to the ordinance, lo and behold, we already had it in the ordinance to do all of that with one little exception. The ordinance that had been adopted several decades ago established what the fee would be for storage, and then went on to essentially say that when a wrecker service does it, we were essentially starting at what was $9 per day, but the wrecker services could go to whatever the amount was set by the Corporation Commission. Although it said set by law, but the law says the Corporation Commission sets it. And so essentially it would mean that if we're storing it, we would be storing it at a rate that would have been the prevailing rate 25-ish years ago. And so we didn't need to ask you for authority to be able to store it at our property. We already had it. We didn't need to ask you for authority to charge a fee. We already had it. What we didn't have was a fee that scaled over time. We don't want to charge more than what the record services are charging, but we essentially want it to be the same as what you would be paying if it was the wrecker. It just might be here locally instead of somewhere else. The other aspect was, because it wasn't expressly laid out in the code, there were a couple of these cars that they wanted to get out of impound and get to our property, so we went ahead and got them out, which meant we paid the storage fees. Well, in a situation like that where we might need to preserve something here, we want to make sure that if somebody comes to claim it, that whatever the taxpayers paid to get it out of impound and the storage fees that were paid to the third party are part of what they need to pay to recover it. So the only real substantive changes are to get rid of the fixed rate and to say that when we store it, it's whatever the rate is at the time established by the Corporation Commission for wrecker services, which is going to be the same rate that they'd be paying at the wrecker service, and that if we have a wrecker service store it and we decide we want to store it locally, we have to pay to get it out, then whatever we paid to get it out is what you would have to pay, which would essentially be the exact same amount if we left it there, or the exact same amount as you would have paid if it was stored here locally from the get-go. So not asking for new authority, the authority was already there, not asking for authority to charge a fee, that was already there. We just never updated it. This is one small example of what we were talking about earlier when it comes to all the fees that we charge, where you fix it by ordinance and it never gets updated. So Jason's here if you have any questions, but it's his fault that this is on here because he called and said, is this something we could do?
Yeah, I've got a question. Why would we want to store it? We've got limited facilities, limited space. Why would we want to store one in our own property as opposed to a third party?
Can we give that example?
Sure. Okay. That always works better.
Talk in the mic.
Pam's not leaving tonight. She's probably going to draft the minutes, and she might beat you if she couldn't hear what you said.
So this will be limited, first off, only to certain vehicles, certain crimes. So let's say we have a drive-by shooting, that the vehicle gets used, and that vehicle is a nice vehicle, it's worth money. Someone's coming to get that vehicle. It's going to have to be held in evidence, whether it's held here, whether it's held at a record yard until it's released, okay? The reality is if we have a way to hold them here, we know they're secured under evidence, and at the end of the day, instead of paying the record fees, you're paying us. And someone's coming to get it, they have to get it out. The real reason that started this, one of the VIN swap vehicles that we got, we lost. And when I say we lost $30,000, okay? Ish. It hasn't gone to auction yet, but had that vehicle been stored at our lot, not the wrecker lot, we would file it as unclaimed property, and we would have the chance to auction that vehicle for $30,000. So, and we currently have another vehicle that's falling into that category that prompted Matt and I putting this together so quick, and why that vehicle currently is at our police station. The other vehicle, the record yard, filed their title, paperwork, all that stuff, and it will be auctioned off. Had we known this existed, had we put all this together prior, had these things come up before, then that would have been held on ours, and we would have been able to auction that off, and the city would have gotten that money.
And it would only be auctioned if the owner doesn't come to get it.
Correct.
The harsh reality and the reason that this got prompted by the VIN swaps is your car gets stolen, what do?
Collect from insurance.
And once you collect from insurance,
You can't get the car back.
and believe it or not, and I called a couple chiefs that I know that actually do this and they don't use wrecker services. And they all, yeah, no, on these VIN swaps, the insurance company never comes to get them. They've already paid the property owner everything, the value of the vehicle, and for whatever reason, they don't want to come and get it. And so they'll usually sign it over, which then means that if it goes that route, I mean, we always have the ability for the owner to come reclaim it, and they would not be paying anything that they wouldn't already be paying. But if it doesn't get reclaimed, we don't go through the process in Title 47 that the Record Services do. We have a separate process that we follow for all unclaimed property, and we do it every couple of years. Every so often, we go down to district court, file a list of all the properties, send mailings out to all the owners so that they can come and say they want to make a claim on their property. And if they don't, then it just gets turned over to the city. City can dispose of it.
Where does that go, like into a general fund or something with the money?
Goes into the general fund. Now, I hope we don't do this, but some cities, like Blanchard at one point in time had seized and stored at their property a very nice Camaro that their local drug dealer parted with as part of going to jail. And so when it went through the unclaimed property, the property gets turned over to the city to dispose of as it sees fit. They turned it into their dare car and put on the car. It was great. They had the Blanchard PD striping and then donated by your local drug dealer right on the side.
Would the council have a say in that, though, with the property that we go to? Like, if, say, we wanted to give like a nice Camaro to the police department, would that happen?
Yeah, I mean, if we were going through, as with anything, when we do every 5-6 years, the purge of the property and evidence room and get a massive list, if there was something they wanted to keep or that the city wanted to keep, then we would pull that out to bring it to you for, hey, we're going to go through the process, but we don't want to sell this. We'd actually like to keep it for the city to use for city purposes. So it could be that there's a vehicle that goes through this process that we decide not to auction off, but we would bring that to you for a decision on whether or not we auction it or whether or not we just keep it internally.
So if there is a Lamborghini, can we go test drive with it or no?
I was thinking Maserati, but
I would love to do that.
Deputy Chief's going to ask for it to be made the deputy chief car.
Every one
enough
of
room in
us. Line up.
Think it goes fast. Wait till you put red and blue lights on it.
Where do we store these vehicles?
So, right now, it's currently, when the city stores them, they need to be in an extremely secure spot. It is at our station, in the secure parking in the back, okay? 24-hour surveillance, 24-hour, we're all in, out all night long. It's more secure than any record lot for that matter. As you guys all know, we have a parking problem at our police department. And we can't run a wrecker service, no one's trying to do that. We're only trying to do this with these very specific vehicles like the VIN swap. It could, I hate to use the word seizure, it could become a seizure type vehicle that maybe the DA's office doesn't take, that we find a way we can take. And all this is to benefit the city. All this is to benefit seizure money, selling the cars, all that stuff. And or major crime cars, like I, gave you an example of where we're storing it. I mean, the reality is, if we're storing it for 90 days instead of a record storing it for 90 days before it can release from evidence, I think the state law right now is $15 a day.
It's a bit more now.
And something like that.
Yeah, Corporation Commission's upped it to 20-something.
So, and that, again, that's going to be very specific, and Chief and I have talked, we'll have to write, policy on, what vehicles it would be, why, make sure Matt's in agreement with that, I mean, we're not looking to take every impound. And, we did budget, that we haven't, asked for it or anything yet. We did budget in CIP to extend our parking lot. And because we don't have enough parking now, and when they built the building, and no one knows why they built it as small as they did for the parking behind there. But either way, that's where we are. And if this stuff came to fruition, then it might be an easier way to swallow that pill of extending the parking, to be able to have a place to park the vehicles in essence, for the benefit that they're giving to the city, and not just the city, but the citizens too, because we all know that if we put money back into the city, then it's going back out, to the citizens as well, so.
And to be clear, this ordinance doesn't deal with it going unclaimed. This ordinance only deals with whether it's stored there or here, getting it out of storage and paying the storage fee. It's only if nobody tries to claim it that we'd be going the route of unclaimed property. And if we went that route by statute, we can't go that route without notifying the owner so that they can come in and make a claim on it. So this is, literally, all this really does is just adjust the fee to the current. Everything else was existing authority.
Well, I mean, like, so that's my concern. Like, let's say you get 5 cars. Which 5 cars are you gonna say can't park in that back lot? Because you got cars back there that have to sit in there. I mean, that's just,
Well, these vehicles will have to park back there. So if we did anything like that, we would have to look at, we already currently, because we have vehicles waiting to be upfitted right now, we currently have ACO, for example, their trucks are having to park over at the city yard. And they're driving over each day having to get their trucks because we're out of room. You know, we built a secure facility to allow dispatch and everyone to be able to park in the back. Currently, half the time, you'll see dispatch cars, stuff like that, parked up front because we don't have room back there right now. If you go over to the police department right now, there's 1, 2, 3 on the grass. 3
yeah,
cars parked on the
yesterday I
grass
saw like
right
3
now.
or 4.
Yeah, and that's because we don't have the room. But again, though, this was really stemmed because we basically lost our ability to do anything with a $30,000 car that we already know would have been able to file for unclaimed property, and the city would have gotten that money because the insurance did not come get that car. So that's what really stems it.
Sorry, I'm ready to go. I move to adopt this amendment of the municipal code to update the towing and storage fees. So it makes business sense.
I second that.
Morris,
Yay.
Omosui,
Yes.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion approved.
You gotta take the helm.
Oh, because she's,
Do you have to do anything about the emergency clause, or is that
No,
included?
you don't have to move, just walk right back in. I'm just saying, maybe you could do item B, approval of the emergency.
oh, yeah, so item B,
Emergency
the emergency clause. Anybody want to?
Make a motion to approve the emergency clause?
Second it?
Myers,
Yes.
Morris,
Yay.
Omosui,
Yes.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion approved.
I felt so much power. Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Then we took it away from you.
All righty, questions? Anybody want to start?
I will.
Keep it down to
Start with me.
3
3
minutes.
minutes.
3
3 minutes. Okay, we'll see if I can get through there. What I learned, we did a town hall last week, and that's one of the things I want to talk about on Saturday, is we did a town hall at the library, and it ended up being very good, I thought, for a first town hall. There were some things we could do maybe a little better if I do this again, which I plan to do. I'd like to do about every 6 months. I think it's a great way to interact with the citizens, figure out where they're at on needs from the city and what they're thinking about. Yeah, like I said, the library staff was just absolutely wonderful. It was easy to set up. They were very accommodating when I got there, happy that we were there doing this. And that's what I have to say about that, as well as also, you know, when it comes to all intents and purposes, the library is definitely our community center today for Warr Acres. Though we don't have one, it's a perfect spot for that, and that's pretty much what we used it as on Saturday. We had about between 30 and 35 people show up, which I thought was a great showing, and they were all interactive, and it was really good. When Chief Anderson showed up, which I was very appreciative that he came, as well as the other officer, I can't remember.
Crystal.
What's his name?
Jason?
Oh, Alan.
Yeah,
Oh, Jason.
No, Jason.
Jason Allen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they came. They came. It was great. Chief Anderson was able to answer some questions that we didn't know. Also, Crystal back there came and was very glad that she came, as far as being able to answer some questions for other people too, just like the chief did. She was very handy, and also told me that she could help me out on the next one I want to give, and I was very appreciative of that. Thank you so much for everything and offering to help me on the next one. I think that's going to be great. That'll even make the next one even that much better. Thank you so much. I wanted to reach out and tell you that. Judy also was very instrumental in making sure this was successful. She brought materials for people to fill out. She showed stuff on, you know, adoption and how you can sign up for the emergency list and everything else, and just did a wonderful job speaking the first 30 minutes of our town hall that we put on. just did a great job. She just always does a good job, I think, with the city and everything she does. I'm so appreciative to have a other council person in Ward 1 that is her. and so appreciative of everything that happened. And yeah, more people came than I thought. I was like, considering how many people show up to vote at an election, if we got about a dozen people, I would be ecstatic. And we got probably about over twice that many, or almost 3 times that many to show up. So I thought everybody did a great job. I thought it went way better than I thought. The citizen participation part was really good. A lot of people, there were some things that they said that I can bring to you guys, because that's what we're doing, right? We're representing people of our ward. And what did they have to say? One of the things was, I guess, trash service on Thursday before the 4th wasn't well communicated to a lot of people in our ward, because a lot of people had their trashes out. People, hey, they didn't come Thursday before the 4th of July, and I guess it wasn't communicated really well that we weren't having trash service in Ward 1 on Thursday, that Thursday before the 4th. A lot of people have anxiety about the new trash service. How are these caddies going to work? Am I still going to have one elderly lady said, hey, I'm an elderly lady. I can't move my trash out to the front. Can I still have my side house service? That's important to her. That was a lot of things. Almost everybody there agreed that they don't like Monday pickup trash. So if there's one day you could cut out a trash service, it would be Mondays. Everybody hates that. So get rid of Monday trash service. If we got to go down to one day, Ward 1 doesn't want Monday.
Our habits.
Make it a different.
Instead of Wednesday?
The other thing was the newsletter, maybe. Okay, well, one thing somebody was like, hey, if we could let citizens know, because they were concerned about, hey, how can I pick up my limbs and everything else? What about big trash? And another thing to say is, hey, we have dumpsters that you can get. It's like $17 too. It's not real expensive. So maybe if we could let the citizens know, hey, if you need big trash picked up, you can call the city. We'll pick it up for you, maybe an extra fee. We also have the dumpsters available for $17. Maybe if we can be a little more, communicate that to people. The other thing was, seniors in my ward, they still want the side house service. The other thing is the increase in the utilities for these seniors that are on fixed income is another anxiety point for them.
I want a fixed income, but I have kids.
Yeah,
So
there you
how's
go,
that
man,
any
right?
different?
Yeah,
Ain't
there's a
no
lot,
difference.
You volunteering?
No, just.
We can, okay, a lot of them would like to see, hey, if we're going to get this new trash service and we're getting a new truck and we can save on maintenance and personnel, will there ever be a rate decrease? And they were like, it never happens. No, they're never going to decrease the rate, but they know that we increased the trash service rate recently, of course, and so they wanted to know, hey, if we're getting rid of, some personnel or whatever else, and we can save some money doing this, is there a way we can do a decrease in that? Maybe something to look into too, maybe after 18 months of that new service.
Landfill fees go down.
Yeah, right. We'll see. There was a concern that we don't have a building inspector and the code enforcement stuff. There's concerns with that. We had a guy say, hey, man, I got some plumbing work going on. I got a hole in my front yard. Been waiting, over a week and a half for an inspector to come out and check it out, and all it's doing is getting full of water. So, that was the concerns of people in Ward 1. I want to share with people here whenever they came out. That's fireworks, too. They talked about that, and the chief was very good about being able to answer some of these people's questions on stuff there. And of course, again, I want to say, fix the speed bump on Northwest 72nd Place. We got some paving issues, and that's not the only place, but I guess I'm going to say it until it gets fixed, because that's another thing people brought up at the meeting, and I guess I'll say it every meeting until we fix our paving issue, at least over there. And there's a few other spots too. Another thing, getting off of that, it was great. I thought it was a great success. I plan to do it again another 6 months or so, do another one at the library. It was great. People liked that. It was very interactive, and I think we learned a lot from it, and was great to have. I'll do it again. The last thing I want to talk about is Neighbors Night Out. Have you guys heard of that? Okay, it's a national organization. Now, whenever I Googled this for Warr Acres, I came up with 2 dates, and I don't know if we're doing it or not. It still wasn't clear. September 9th and August 5th. So I think the actual national date is August 5th for National Night Out, but I saw something Warr Acres was doing it on September 9th. But when I Googled it, so I didn't know if there was something we could do to clear up, but I think that's another important date. Maybe we can, as city council members, especially for our own wards, maybe put on something for our own neighborhoods.
What is it?
Do what?
What is it?
Neighbors
Well,
just get
it's
together.
typically, this year it says it's supposed to be on August 5th, which is coming up. But whenever I Googled it, for Warr Acres, it said September 9th. And I was like, okay, that's kind of odd. It's kind of, that doesn't add up. It's kind of confusing. So I didn't know if we actually had one for Warr Acres. Warr Acres is doing this. But National Night Out is a national organization that does this nationwide. It's where neighbors can get together. It's for public safety. They'll usually do neighborhood watch people and stuff like that. It's a great way to know your neighbors, get with the people. Hey, I'm your neighbor. I'm this. This is great because this way people knows you. They know who you are, when you're there, who's supposed to be there when you're gone. And it's usually one of those things. So maybe
There
that's
was an HOA that did that last year.
Yeah.
One of the HOAs.
Cherokee Crossings,
Yeah.
So it's something to think about, and that might be something I think about for Ward 1, doing at
Pretty
least.
soon if it's something to organize.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something to organize. There you go. And there you go. There's my
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
You can have mine.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
No, wait, you didn't talk about the after the dash of your zip code.
I didn't, yeah. I didn't talk about that. Well, I don't have enough time, but anyway, always thank you, Public Works, and thank you, Fire and Police for everything you guys do, and of course, City Council and the people of the city, and especially Crystal back there was very helpful for my town hall we put on. Anyway, that's it.
I couldn't remember.
Great. I want to thank Kit. He's being very humble about this. But this was his deal. He put it on, he mailed it out. And he was, I feel very fortunate that he asked me to be part of it. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Crystal, for coming out. Like I said, like Kit said, you were very helpful. And thank you to Chief, and I'm sorry I missed you. Deputy Chief was there. But one of the things that I took away was they did vocalize their appointment that because the holidays hit on Mondays, can we move around that in any way, shape, or form? Make that be your day to pick things up, sorry. That more holidays fall on Monday, and it seems like it would be easier just to get that and make that as your makeup day, was their suggestion. The other suggestion that came out loud and clear is, tell me what I need to do, I'll do it, but at the same time, I have expectations for the same in return. So I think that was basically about big trash. I put my big trash out. For 2 months, it didn't get picked up. Both times, it didn't get picked up, and she said, the one gal that vocalized her concerns was, I now have to move it in order for the people to come mow my yard or to keep the sprinkler off of it or whatever. And she's like, I'll do whatever it is you want me to do, but I need you to stick to it in return. And other than that, do we still have puppies?
We do, and they got them all posted with.
Okay, good. So we have puppies. And that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you to police, fire, City Hall.
I'm not going to talk about their thing they had. Today's a very sad day because when I moved out here, Mayor Woolley got me to run on the city council because I knew him outside of the city of Warr Acres. And the second person I met was Pam. He brought me into City Hall. And that was back when it was the fire station and everything else. The only reason I'm even on the council is because I want to do things that enhance or make the city of Warr Acres better. I'd like to thank all the ex-mayors that were here tonight. I'd like to thank the staff that was here. I know when I was vice mayor with Roger, I tried to make it a point every day to walk down to their offices to talk to them because I felt like it was important. That's why I keep harping that they need to get their raises that they haven't gotten the past couple budgets. I just, Pam, I wish you I understand what's all going on. I wish you the best. You'll be missed. I was going to say this before you even talked, that when I got the packet, I looked at the budget and I looked at the expenses and everything else, how close you were to everything on what you proposed and what the actuals were. And because I do accounting for a living, I was so impressed with that and the job you always do. So I just want to say thank you.
John?
Well, Pam has reiterated to us more than once that 70% of the phone calls they receive at City Hall are about trash and utility complaints. I think your town hall meeting reaffirmed that. It sounds like every complaint you had was trash or utility complaints. So now you know what they deal with every day. You dealt with it for a couple of hours. They deal with it every day, all day. So I think that's something we need to remember. But you can't fix some people that want to complain.
True.
You just can't fix that. There's always the vocal minority, and you've got the silent majority that are doing their best. They've got jobs, they've got to go to work, they don't have time to complain about stuff. Those are the ones that I see that we're really trying to focus our efforts at, are the ones that aren't out complaining about things unless it's imperative. So, it was interesting. I'm glad you did that because it just reaffirmed everything that we've been told. The other item I wanted to do was I wanted to get an action item on the agenda next month to authorize the city engineer to develop a scope and prepare an estimate for the resurfacing on 63rd Street from MacArthur to the city limit line east. And so we can be prepared to send it out to bid. We can look at it, see what it's going to look like. But if we've already missed the summer, so we could have done that resurfacing when school was out and make it a lot easier. We've already missed that, so we're not even going to worry about it. But I think we need to be moving forward on that. It'd be nice to do all on 63rd Street, but we just can't afford that. But that east section is falling apart. So that's what I had. Thanks.
Debbie?
I do want to say how thankful I am for Pam, and I work in accounting, and it blows my mind what she can juggle, and she's so familiar with all the ins and outs of our money and the staff. And I'm thankful for the staff too, but Pam, you're irreplaceable.
Aida?
You do run the city, you and everyone in there. Leaders usually are just the framed pictures. It's the small soldiers who are basically out and working without being noticed and without being appreciated. Yes, they do get paid, but it's definitely when they get paid, they don't put everything in. But I have met most of the employees in the city hall, and very pleasant people who, even before I became a city council member. So thank you, Pam. It's really sad. I don't know what to say. There is a few things that we have here. I would like to talk about the City of 4 Acres Facebook page. I hope that you can go back, read the intro here, and change it. It's giving a. I know that it was created by Mayor Mickley, although he said that there are certain things that he cannot remember if he wrote it. I don't think what is written there is even, because it was written before all the laws and everything, there is certain things there, it falls under, not illegal, but it's not lawful. You cannot remove comments, you cannot remove.
It's not an official webpage.
It is the Facebook page.
Yeah, the
So
Facebook page is not an official
I
webpage.
have asked in the last training that we went to specifically about that. The funny part, if you put in your personal Facebook page that you are a city council member, you cannot block anybody. You have zero right to block someone. I went through all those details. I was surprised. Crystal and April was with me, and we were shocked.
If you
with
put that you're a city council person,
Yes.
if that's,
So
if you're
the ci-
like
So the city,
Mayor Roger Godwin or whoever.
you can go ahead and call the ML, I think, and ask there. They can basically give you all the laws and bylaws. I have not seen any Facebook page for any city that has that kind of introduction. We can,
What, that you can't, that if you're using cuss words, it has to be taken out? That's all it says. is
it
that if
reflects
you're-
on the people who live here.
Warr Acres will
more
remove any
than-
comment
more
that
than-
contains vulgar language, cursing, or sexual content. Please be kind and respectful.
I have not seen that on any Facebook page of any city. I have looked through, even Las Vegas, the Sin City, I didn't see that there. If you don't want to remove it, it is up to you. It's a suggestion. It's a suggestion.
Matt, is that a problem legally?
We can talk about that outside of a meeting because we
It's not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda.
Okay.
This is a suggestion. The other thing I would love to talk about, 63rd and Grove and 50th and Grove. The last month, I've been going through those two intersections twice a day, if not 3 times a day, and I have noticed that people are not stopping when the light is red. In one day, there was almost two car accidents, almost getting T-boned. I don't know what we can do with that, if there is any budget for cameras there. I have no idea, or maybe more monitoring there, because it's very concerning. So I wish that you can talk to one of your officers. Maybe they can have more patrol there. It's across the street from the church. That would be great. And it was not even like, even late at night. It was during the day, middle of the day. So that was scary. There was a family in a van almost got taken out. So I wish we can do something about those two places. So, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay. It was obvious from everyone that showed up tonight that are usually never here, that there was a lot of talk going on, and I wasn't the one doing it. I don't understand some of these things that people are saying that I said, because I've never said them to anyone that works for the city. I ask questions. I'm trying to learn. I'm sorry if there's a misunderstanding. I do not want Pam to leave. That's all. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Evans?
Yes.
Morris?
Yay.
Amosui?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yay.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, let's go into the Public Works Authority meeting. Call to order, have a quorum. discuss the consent docket. Anybody want to?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent docket.
Second it.
Evans?
Yes.
Morris?
Yay.
Myers?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Omosuli?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Discussion and possible action on the change order in the amount of 38,000. Was that supposed to be?
And that's what he talked to you about.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a
More-
motion to approve that. He explained what it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Was
earlier.
more
Second it.
left already. Yeah.
Evans?
Yes.
Morris?
Yay.
Omosuli?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
And we didn't get, are we going to discuss the MOU into depth on the next item?
We talked about item 5 during the staff reports. My only suggestion would be either take no action, or if you want to table it, at least table it to the next regular or special meeting. If you table it to the next regular, then technically we shouldn't take it up at a special meeting, so.
Or we just don't even say anything.
Yeah, if you don't say
Move up.
anything, we're going to have it for you on an
Next,
agenda.
yeah.
So you don't have to table it.
Okay.
No action?
No action.
Okay. And then SRB, I guess Mark left reports on the wastewater, so we don't,
Yeah, I think
Have
he was
anything?
planning on the next special meeting.
okay. Okay, so anybody want to make a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Or whoever. Which one?
Fight over it.
Evans?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Morris?
Yay.
Omosuli?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, call to order the economic development meeting, and we have a quorum. And anyone want to talk about the consent docket or remove any items from that? Approve the minutes, anybody?
I move we approve the consent docket.
Second.
Morris?
Yay.
Evans?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Omosuli?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Discussion on new businesses. Have you got any new updates?
I'll just do the one, and then I'll get it back to you. So, besides just, there's other people working on the economic development stuff, and it's, Chief Coy does a lot. He tells me different places, and he said it was the air show, this Big Biscuit. So there's one over there at 63rd May. It's not, I've been there, it's good. So I went and talked to the manager there. He's gonna try to get the general manager for the region, the regional director, whatever. I don't think they're a franchise. The guy really didn't know. So yeah, it obviously isn't, because he would know, because he'd have to fork up the money for it if he was. So waiting on a call back from him. That was really the only other new business I have. The one I want is the Texas Roadhouse. That's the one I want, because people are gonna go to that, and we don't have anything like that in Warr Acres. So, but until I hear back from them, and they're supposed to be calling me back, but I haven't heard back yet. And then Vicky had a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah, I have been speaking with several investors. Mr. Galami, he owns a property at 37th and MacArthur. He was wanting to do an expansion. Working with Mark and Dakota on that. Mr. Batista, he's talking about investing in the property at 50th and MacArthur, doing some work on that, putting in restaurants and boutiques there. AutoZone is doing an expansion on about 39th and St. Charles. And Ben is at Golden Corral, wanted to bring up some items he's looking at putting in more businesses here as well, and he also wanted to talk about, which I'll have to bring up at another meeting, he wanted to do a marketplace in the parking lot, maybe like a farmer's market, something like that. We were gonna have to work on the ordinances on those for events, things like that. And then I had been talking to a couple other investors, which I haven't talked to since I last talked to you guys about it. So things are looking up, but it's going to take a while, because it's got to go through planning, it's got to go through, plan review, it's got to go through all of that. So things don't move fast. And So hopefully, though, some of this will materialize this year. I know they're gonna open up, Ben's gonna open up the Asian buffet, he says in September, so that will help some. And AutoZone, that's probably gonna take, I don't know, 6 months to expand. So that's all I know. And you wanna talk about the brochure, or anybody else wanna talk about any businesses?
What's the latest on the Golden Corral people?
Huh?
The Golden Corral location?
His name is Ben.
Is he still working on it?
Yeah, he said he was probably gonna open in September. He
That's
thought
the vision.
October and then now September.
Okay.
And then he wants to do other businesses in Warr Acres. He opened up a place on Rockwell, kinda like a Black Friday place where they have bins
Oh,
like that, where you can pay a certain price for everything in the bin. And so he's talking about opening up something in Warr Acres too.
You said something about you need to work on ordinance if we want to have a farmer's market.
Yeah,
Here is why. There is a spot that is, it's a property that has two sections. One of them is Oklahoma City and the other one is Warr Acres. And I've been talking to someone, they've been trying to buy it. The owner is giving them a little bit hard time to sell. But to turn it to a parking lot for food trucks.
the food trucks, events,
It's
tents,
basically,
all
it's
that.
going to be just food trucks. It's like one next to the other, and there is a certain section of the property that would be just seating area. Very interesting. I'm crossing my fingers that this person is gonna sell. So do we need to worry about ordinance or changing laws, or is that okay?
yeah, and how
Can
would
they
we get
sta-
tax money from that if it's part, Warr Acres and part Oklahoma City? I wonder how that would.
The seating will be in Oklahoma City. The food trucks are going to be in Warr Acres,
Okay, then.
on a lot for Warr Acres. The seating is
So they've
going
already
to
paid
be,
for it by then, when they go sit down.
so yes,
But if they have the
the
food
place
delivered,
where
then
the
it's
food
Oklahoma
trucks are
City.
going to be are on Warr Acres.
Okay.
The seating, the park, the gathering will be, cross fingers
Well,
if that would work. Because I've been trying to help this investor for a while, and we'll see how's that gonna go.
Okay.
You have to change the ordinance, the food truck ordinance.
We have a problem with that?
Not as much.
Okay,
Well, if they just fill out the,
Yeah,
here is why, because if.
We overhauled the food truck ordinance a couple of years ago to make it far more friendly.
Kind of a popular thing, have you heard?
It's very popular thing.
The truck yard is a new one down in the city.
but events are what we need to work on.
oh, I know, but like this thing, that's probably what they're talking about, like, at FAA, they have food trucks, they just all come out, and there's like 12 of them, they line up in a circle, and people go out there, and if they knew it was a certain day, I could see people going there on a Saturday or something and going to food trucks, yeah. If we knew we were gonna get the tax revenue,
Yeah.
because that's the thing, that's what it's always been the stickler, is that you bring in food trucks and then nobody pays the taxes, or they get waived, and then you don't get anything out of them, and so.
Did you have anything else on the brochure?
The brochure was just, everybody was supposed to look at it and decide if they want to change things, add things, move things around.
Love it.
I just have one comment for you, and that is, it mentions the city community center and then the library, so I didn't know if we wanted to,
Yeah, take that out and just
That out.
make it the library.
yeah. But other than that, I think it looks great. I think it looks great.
It's
We need to work
basically-
on the
Because I didn't
page for the mayor to insert.
Okay, so then
I
I'll,
didn't see that. When did you get it?
I'll start mess with it. I have to update the number as far as the number of vehicles, and I'll get that from Chief Anderson. As far as how many vehicles go through Warr Acres, it had a number on there, and it was from 1992 or whenever we first did this,
We
so.
get those from ACOG.
So hopefully at the next meeting, I'll have something from, that we can present to the bank who's gonna sponsor this, First Fidelity Bank. And then, so it shouldn't be a cost, it should just be an action item, just say, we're gonna go ahead and print them off.
Yeah.
And if you just work on a letter that just says, you know, you're the mayor of Warr Acres, welcome to Warr Acres.
One other thing I forgot too, George Nicholas with Walmart called, and he wants to offer the police and the fire a $2,000 grant. And I don't know how that.
We've been through this. You have to try to fill out this whole new grant process they have, and
I hadn't had a chance to talk to Matt about it, but, yeah.
They're coming at 8 a.m. tomorrow to my office to try to walk through it,
Okay.
but there were a lot of just website issues, paperwork issues. We tried to fill it all out many months ago.
Right,
They need it's like it goes through this deed, and then it goes through Spark, and then you need this EIN number, and there's hangups on every part of it.
Okay.
So we've
Yes.
done our part, but they're coming tomorrow.
so when you type in like the Warr Acres ID, you get like the City of Bethany's fire department. So, because that's what we tried to do. You know, it used to be I would just go, like when we used to have the Route 66 festivals, we would go down to Walmart and say, can you donate water or donate ice or whatever, and they would just do it. Well, now they said everything has to go through this grants they give out. And Pam knows because we worked on it, and I worked on it with Crystal. We worked on it for about, 2 or 3 months. Couldn't get it done, so I just said, well, I guess we're not going to Walmart for anything. And until we could figure it out. And so if they're going to figure it out, but that's what was happening. You can apply, and it says, because what was happening was all these kids were going saying, I want stuff from Walmart to do a project or other stuff. So they wanted to try to track it. And so they said, okay, if you just say City of Warr Acres needs this amount of money, like $5,000, they'll just say, okay, here's $5,000, but you got to fill out this grant form with all this information. And so if you get farther than where we got, because we gave up.
I spent hours on it.
Yeah, and we couldn't get anywhere on
Well,
it.
they're
So.
expanding inside the store, so that was part of that.
That's where we got the Christmas cookies.
Plan to reopen it on September
yeah.
12th. And then there's another, Daisy Exchange is having an event, which I need to talk to about for that, August 16th, of what we have to do to allow them. I don't know if they wanted to set up tents or whatever, so that, I don't know if we can get that in on the agenda
The special meeting.
at the special meeting.
Keep hearing about this special meeting. Do we have a date? Is there,
July 29th, if we can get it
We said it like
done.
5 times already.
But the mayor didn't say it.
If we can get it
I think it's
done.
July 29th.
I'm just thinking, because it's 2 weeks down the road and then 2 weeks before the next meeting, so.
okay.
But we do have a lot of hanging chads that need to be worked out, so. Okay, every year, Putnam City High School does a pancake breakfast. And so we usually donate $500 to them for the pancake breakfast. Brings in a lot of people.
I have a question about that. Is that once a year?
October.
Did we not have something similar to that, like a few months ago? Because I haven't been here for a year and I remember it. Donated something
we-
for
we-
Putnam City breakfast something.
Yeah, I don't know. We only do it once a year.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
They do it, I think, every October, and seems like last year it was asked for after the fact.
Oh,
I
that's
was in
right, that's
October,
right,
yeah,
okay.
okay, I was there, yeah.
Yeah, so,
That's why I remember I've seen that before.
so would anybody like?
I move, we approve the $500 donation. It's the least we can do for our local high school.
I'll second that.
Morris,
Yay.
Myers.
Yes.
Amosoi,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. And we have one more item, discussion and possible action on paying Motion Construction $25,000 per an agreement on the MacArthur Development Project that was approved back in May of 2022. 20.
Did he
It was
do
on your
it?
agenda and continued to this month.
Okay, so, yeah, last month, remember, we said we wanted that person to come and talk about what they actually did?
Exactly.
And I don't know if anybody's here.
They just want the money. It was a 2-piece. They were gonna do some expansion of parks and plantings and some stuff up next to the street. and we were gonna give them money, reimbursement money, but not money up front. And that's what, if they did the work, we're happy to give them the money, but somebody needs to come explain what they've done for the money.
Yeah.
Well, they did get their first 25.
They got the first one.
And then they came in and got it changed as to what they were using the building for. Not as much of it was
Right.
gonna be commercial, and now more of it's residential.
Yeah. So,
But when that agreement came due and we got the money, I had to put it on the agenda to have you guys
no,
decide.
I'm fine, but they need to come in.
They need to explain that.
So would they contact it, or,
Should you continue it again to next month? And
Table
somebody needs to call
well, somebody needs to
motion
get a
until
hold of
come
it,
in?
right?
Table it, I guess.
We just need to contact them to come in. I think what happened, so if you guys have seen that place, it's down there on MacArthur. It's like, it's got a barber shop. Yeah, it's got a barber shop, it's got a couple other
Behind
things,
my
and it's a
house, yeah,
white
my
building. So they were supposed to make it half business, half apartments. And then they were gonna put like a little, they almost made it sound like a dog park with some trees and flowers and
Little park
bushes and everything else.
settings.
But if you drive by it, all that's really there is they've done the front and painted it and put some lights up.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't know.
one of
that's
the
another
commercial areas, all they put in there was a barber shop,
And a
which
tea-
gets us no money.
and a
The other
tea shop.
place is a tea shop.
Shop.
So
And
we,
it's barely open, like 10 to 6.
No restaurant,
On some
because
of the
there's
days.
supposed to be a restaurant in
Yeah,
there first.
yeah, they
That was
changed,
original,
they
yeah.
changed the parameters after we approved it.
Yeah, and they put all kinds of lights up. When I came here, the very first time to come to city council was because of that
The
project.
lights, right.
And I
So
said, you're
it's-
not gonna
And see
have it
what's
all lit up,
happened?
are you? Oh, yeah, it's like lights shining out.
And see what's happened now you're on the city
Just like
council.
behind the
so-
flag.
they're under spotlight.
Yes, I feel like, oh,
It's your fault.
it is. I should have stayed there and said, what do you think you're doing?
Okay, so is it okay to table it? Like, is it gonna mess up, like, are they wanting their money? Are they come in demanding their money?
They have
or-
not contacted me. It was just that whenever we got the funds finally,
Right,
and I knew what the contract said, I put it on the council for approval.
okay, so I'll.
We
just
did
won't
what we
say
were
anything.
supposed to do.
It'll be next month.
When you say you got the funds, what does that mean?
The
On the
TIF
TIF.
money.
Is
Oh, the
it-
TIF,
is it-
okay.
it's in the
Once we
TIF
finally
district, so-
received money
Right.
from the TIF,
Okay.
then they were supposed to get their
Okay.
share.
Don't see how they're.
Maybe they know they've done
This is
some
in there, so how-
sketchy
Yeah.
things and they aren't asking.
But did anybody notify to them after the last meeting to be here?
Probably not.
Say that again?
Ask-
Did anyone
Well, Mike said
contact
that they were supposed to,
Right.
they wanted, you guys wanted to talk to them, but I don't know if anybody notified them to tell them to be
That's
here.
what I was saying is
I mean, if
I was
they,
looking
they
at the
haven't
mayor.
come looking
Somebody
for
gonna
it,
come-
right?
But will you contact them to say, will they
I'll
come to the
need to
next
do
meeting?
that.
Contact them, have them show up
Yeah.
next.
Are you tabling it to next month?
Well, we're just not even gonna say anything and it'll,
Yeah.
is that okay? I mean,
No
I don't.
action.
Make a motion to
It's,
table
it's
item
okay.
7.
We should probably also, if they want the money, we probably should also get Jeff Sapin involved, who's the one who did the
The
agreement,
TIF agreement, right.
to see if they're eligible for it.
Have her write that down too.
So,
Alrighty then. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And you quit.
Get right on that
Big
one.
talker there.
Myers?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Emilsoway?
Yes.
Morris?
Yay.
Schmidt?
No.
I knew it. Evans?
Yes.
Bayer?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Well, I've missed all the All-Star games, so it's pointless to go home now.